Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live in the studio. Get involved in the comments and the chat. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. There's loads of news to go through. Just getting towards the end there, aren't we, of this international break, man? I just want proper football back. It's been a bit of a slog recently. There's been a few stories flying around that you go, really? Okay, what? But there's a few that you look at and you go, there might be something in that. So we're going to get into all of them. If you're not doing so already as well, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. We want to get to 800,000 subscribers, and with your support, yes, we can get there. Loads of people in the chat already. Santa Notch, Maurice Marshall, Akis K, a few others as well. Harry Potter, Robert Taylor, thank you, everyone. Let's talk about Kobbie Mainoo then, because this story is from Stephen Railston in the Manchester Evening News, and he published this just, well, about an hour ago, really, wasn't it? And he says here, Mainoo could go separate ways in the summer transfer window. Kobbie Mainoo's future is uncertain at his boyhood club, and there is a chance Man United could sell him in the summer. So there's obviously been these sort of contract negotiations that have gone on and on and on, and there's a question about what is going to happen with Kobbie Mainoo. Is he going to sign a new deal? Is he asking for too much? Are the club unwilling to give him the deal that he wants? You can see there's a few more details here. It says Mainoo has been in contract negotiations with United since March 2024, and an agreement still hadn't been reached, despite talks continuing between both parties over a new deal. The Manchester Evening News understand there is a genuine chance that Mainoo could leave in the summer. There needs to be a compromise in contract negotiations for Mainoo to stay, which supporters are hoping for, but it is thought a split might eventually be best for the player and the club. This has gone back and forth for a little while now, hasn't it, with what's going on with Kobbie Mainoo, because there was this report, I think, from Chris Wheeler in the Mail. I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, where Chris Wheeler was basically saying that Kobbie Mainoo wanted around 200,000, or Kobbie Mainoo wanted around 200 grand, I think it was, 180, 200,000 to stay at Manchester United. Now, we spoke to Laurie Whitwell, and he was saying, I think this was last time we had him on, he said, look, there was a bit of pushback from what he'd heard on that figure, or the figures that were being reported, not just by Chris Wheeler, to be fair. Other people were saying like 180, 200 grand wasn't accurate, and that wasn't what he was being told from people he trusted. So I don't know how true that sort of figure is, but it's still going on, in it, these transfer negotiations. Now, we've heard varying reports, some reports saying, look, there's nothing to worry about. We heard from Jim Ratcliffe when he said, he was kind of a little bit cryptic about it, wasn't he? Because he said, when it comes to selling players or young players, we will never sell players for financial reasons. Now, you might go, well, okay, if you're going to sell Kobbie Mainoo, surely that's for a financial reason, because he's one of the few players we've got where you can get decent money for, like pretty big money for him, because he's so young and so talented, and obviously, plays for England, which always has a bit of a premium, Premier League and all the rest of it. However, football reasons covers a multitude of sins, doesn't it? Because if you say, well, actually, if we were to sell Kobbie Mainoo and get 60 million for him, just a figure I've just pulled out of the air, I'm not saying that would be it, and we were to spend that on a striker, is that a football reason? Is that making the team better? Or is it making it worse? Now, I personally, but you could label that as a football reason. Now, I personally think Kobbie Mainoo should stay, and we should do everything we can to keep him. I honestly believe that, because I think he's a fantastic talent. I think you look at when he made his debut, November 2023, he came into the side at Goodison. It's almost easy to forget that. You feel like he's been around for years. Had an amazing first season, scored some important goals. You look at the goal against Wolves, you look at the goal against Liverpool, look at the goal in the FA Cup final, of course, the decisive second goal, and he got player of the match in that cup final, going up against the likes of Rodri and De Bruyne. I just think he's a talent we should be keeping. However, it does concern me a little bit, the fact that these stories aren't going away, the fact that these stories are still there, and the fact that Mainoo hasn't signed a contract. Now, it might be that Kobbie Mainoo signs a contract, at the end of the season, and we can all relax and go, okay, that's that. But it might not. And these stories are still here, aren't they? Now, this is the latest one from the Manchester Evening News, and we are hearing, I think it's safe to say, conflicting reports. So even the fact that Kobbie Mainoo maybe isn't asking for as much as has first been reported, as Laurie was saying, he might not be saying, oh, I want 180 grand, 200 grand. we don't know if that's the only reason that the club might not be willing to do business. We don't know, because if the club are looking at it going, we need to sell to buy, is Kobbie Mainoo one of those? We heard that Garnacho could be one of those. He was linked quite heavily with Napoli in the January transfer window, and he was linked with Chelsea. He's another player that could fetch a bit. We know that we are expected to get some money for Marcus Rashford. There's a story doing the rounds about him and Aston Villa, sort of an update, but we know it anyway, that he could be looking at around 40 million, or expecting around 40 million for Marcus Rashford from Aston Villa, unless things go a bit south there. He's done okay since he went there, so I'm hoping that's going to pan out. So you can get maybe 40 million for him. Also 25 million for Jadon Sancho. The latest on that one was that the 5 million penalty that Chelsea could pay if they don't want to take him, if they don't want to have Jadon Sancho, Chelsea aren't looking to pay that. They'd rather pay 25 million and keep him. I mean, things could change, but there were some reports that maybe Chelsea would pay this £5 million penalty, not keep Jadon Sancho, because it's not working out for him. I think he's got one assist in his last 14 Premier League games or something. However, Sky Sports and a couple of others were saying Chelsea would rather pay the 25 million. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But that's potentially more money. Anthony's another one who's gone out on loan who could bring in some money. Plus, you can get more players off the wage bill. There's still question marks about what's going to happen with Casemiro, who's on about 300 grand. So maybe there's enough business to be done with all these players. But the two sort of players that you think potentially could bring in the most money, Kobbie Mainoo and Garnacho, there are rumours and reports that they could go in the summer, and that's sort of what's been carried on today with the latest news from report from Manchester Evening News. Like I said earlier, I think it'd be a big mistake. I think the fact that Kobbie Mainoo's been injured this season hasn't helped, because I think people have forgotten almost how good he is, and people go, oh, he's been injured, he's only been in the team for a couple of seasons and he's missed a big chunk of the second season. Maybe it's not the end of the world if he goes. Does he fit in Amorim's system? Yes, I think he's a talented player. At 19 playing for Manchester United, he could fit in any system, and I think we need to keep him. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. I want to hear what you guys think. FPL Frost says we should blame Erik ten Hag for buying Casemiro and Antony if Mainoo leaves. SK Mazid Iali, I am okay with Mainoo leaving if he is not agreeing to the salary part and we get a £60 million fee. Unrelated to this, but Southampton was taken over in 2022 for the exact amount they're demanding for Dibbling. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that story last night. Tyler Dibbling Southampton wanted 100 million for Tyler Dibbling. That ain't going to happen. People comparing it to the Jack Grealish to City transfer. I think that I know players can go for 100 million. Obviously, I would think Declan Rice go for a similar fee or something, probably I think a bit more actually. I think Casado was around that figure as well. It happens. I don't think it'll happen with Tyler Dibbling. It's certainly what happened with Tyler Dibbling going to Manchester United. Either way, if we do get him, we ain't going to spend 100 million. But let me know what you think about the Kobbie Mainoo story. Jay, I'm still in long-term therapy, trying to process the pain of that guy Welb's leaving. If Kobbie goes too, I'll end up in a padded cell, says Dan United 94. Hit that like button, please, people. Robert Tater says, I'd rather lose Garnacho than Kobbie. Akash K says, Jay, you need to take into account we are the problem here, not Kobbie. Until we resolve our squad depth issues, we won't see the best of Kobbie often enough. We will continue to overplay Mainoo. I think that's a great point. If you look at, I always go back to this, look at Phil Foden at City, right? Phil Foden at Manchester City, when he was brought in, around a similar age to when Kobbie Mainoo made his debut, Phil Foden was given like 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes here, maybe 10 minutes in that first season, but gradually brought in. Now, I'm not going to praise City because I hate them, but the way they brought in Foden, it was like the ideal way to bring in a player. You bring him in gradually, gets more minutes, gets more appearances. Season by season, he's getting integrated into the team. He becomes more and more important, gets more starts, and eventually he shines and he flourishes. Now, obviously, he's coming into a team that has loads of possession, that's winning 90% of its football matches, that's winning trophies. He's playing alongside players that are genuinely world class. Again, unfortunately, Kobbie Mainoo comes into a dysfunctional team. I think we can all admit that Manchester United's midfield was absolutely dysfunctional last season under Erik ten Hag when Kobbie Mainoo came into it. So he comes into that. Then the manager goes. Now it's a new system. It's not been the ideal setup or integration into a team for a teenager, has it? So I think you have to take that into consideration. I just look at Mainoo. I look at his talent. Look at his ability. I look at his personality as well. We always question, don't we, whether people have the right mindset for Manchester United. Do they have the right... Some people like to throw the word attitude around. Kobbie Mainoo just seems like a genuinely mature, level-headed lad who loves Manchester United and can get on with it. So I'd be gutted, absolutely gutted, if I saw Kobbie Mainoo go. And hopefully like Laurie was saying, the wage demands aren't what is being reported elsewhere, and hopefully the club can just get a deal done. It's dragging on a little bit now, a little bit. I know it's still in the middle of the season, so you can go, okay, you can sort this out at the end of the season. I get that, but I just hope at the end of the season we see the picture of Kobbie Mainoo sat at that desk with Jason Wilcox or whoever signing that piece of paper. That, for me, would be the ideal scenario. 3 goals says maybe Kobbie wants to go. Maybe he does, but maybe he doesn't. For everything we see, he's a United boy through and through. He's been at the club his entire life, since he was 8 or something. Obviously come through the academy, done really well. There's no indications to say that Kobbie Mainoo is hankering for a move here. Might be some dispute over the wages that he wants. There might even be some dispute over whether the club want to keep him. But I've yet to see anything that says Kobbie Mainoo wants to leave Manchester United. He's actually actively trying to get a move out the door. So I don't know about that one. Again, we'll just have to see what happens. Harry Potter says, I honestly can't see him demanding mad money. Like you said, Jay, the kid is humble. Joe James John says maybe Kobbie didn't like the Rashford exit. Maybe, but then I've not seen anything to indicate those two are particularly close. I get that Marcus Rashford is another one who's come through the academy, another Mancunian, but I mean, for starters, they're quite some age apart. From about 8-year age difference between them. Rashford from a different part of Manchester as well, not a million miles away, but they're not from the same town. Not that matters. And I don't know. I don't know if Rashford leaving would really affect Kobbie that much. I've not seen anything where you go, oh, that would really upset him. I don't know. I mean, you might think differently. Let me know what you think. Stephanie Griffith says 28 away from 100 likes. Get involved in the chat and a comment and hit that like button as well, please, people. There's an interesting story here in The Athletic. It's behind a paywall, so we have to be careful about what we sort of put up. Yes, we love The Athletic and we have them on all the time, as I just mentioned Laurie Whitwell there, and we had Carl Anker on the other day as well, and Matt Critchley. But basically what they're talking about here, there's a story that says why Man United pay their players and what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's comments say about their transfer plans. And it talks here about the sort of Sir Jim Ratcliffe has made clear how prominent the matter of player salaries will be in the new Manchester United era, or in his Manchester United era, when he gave the sort of unprecedented financial details during his recent round of media interviews. It goes on to talk about as well how actually United's wage to income ratio is very healthy, and I wouldn't have saw that one coming. There's a tweet here, you can see it. So basically, our wage to income ratio is quite good compared to others. I think there's only Arsenal and Spurs who have it better. So you can see the graph there. That's the club wages to turnover ratio. So you're not massively overspending on wages compared to what you earn. The issue, this is what the article points out, is that United have often not had their best, highest paid players available. Take the example of Shaw. Sources speaking anonymously to protect relationships say he agreed a deal worth around 200k per week with bonuses on top when committing to 4 more years at the club in April 2023. Now that looks like a terrible deal, doesn't it? Because basically he's been injured for pretty much all of that. Now, obviously when a player signs a deal, you don't go, well, he's going to get injured. But you can sort of look at the player's fitness levels, his injury history, and go, okay, how much can we offer him here? Should we offer him a bit less? Is 200k too much or whatever? You can sort of maybe be a little bit more savvy on that. Also, you look at some of the signings we made in terms of like Casemiro, for example. Was it 300 and odd grand? We put him on. Marcus Rashford's another one. Had that really good season where he scored 30 goals and we gave him, 325k a week contract. I think sometimes we have been a little bit foolish with the transfer deals the wage deals we've done. Hopefully that is going to change though, because whilst I think people should be paid well for Manchester United, I don't think we should have so many of the Premier League's top earners at a club that's sat 13th in the table. That makes no sense to me, even if we have sort of done well in terms, if you can say that, done well in terms of the wages to income ratio. Let's talk about Jobe Bellingham. Bellingham to United. Woohoo! Oh, Jobe, not knocking the lad, but let's have a little look at this one. It says Jobe Bellingham has already told Manchester United his best position amid transfer links. This is obviously he's doing well at Sunderland. I think he's been playing a little bit of a deeper role for Sunderland, but it says here he's at his best when operating as a box-to-box midfielder amid ongoing speculation linking him with a move to Manchester United. There's even news again, obviously, that reporting this. The England under 21 Let's start again. The England under-21 international has been closely linked with a move to Old Trafford over the past week or so. Likewise, a flurry over other big-name clubs, both domestically and abroad. I think this is, you know, a lot of depends on his how much he's going to cost on it. He's been linked with us. He's doing well at Sunderland. I feel like that's a transfer that perhaps is doable, but again, what's the price going to be? Who else is in for him? Obviously, a very talented young lad. He's going to get compared to his brother because he's his brother, obviously. That's going to happen, but I think if you can just put that to one side and just look at him as a player himself, he has been getting absolute plaudits from everyone who's been watching him this season. So, doing bits, probably a doable transfer. I just feel that this is a bit of a twist on it, saying United linked. I think there's a few clubs that are looking at him. I don't know how concrete the interest is in Manchester United. And maybe the whole what happened with Jobe Bellingham does come into it for United. We pulled out all the stops to get him, didn't we? We took him round Carrington, we introduced him to Eric Cantona, we introduced him to Sir Alex Ferguson, and he didn't want to come now. Obviously, Jobe's his own man, but they might look at that and go, got to tread carefully there. Are we going to even get him? Let me know what you think. I don't know a lot about Jobe Bellingham. Harry Potter says, Bellingham. Okay. Nicky Codigan, or Cadigan, going back to the wages thing, says different decision makers, so past is irrelevant now, really. It's not irrelevant in the sense that we're still having to deal with it, but I get your point about decision makers different. Dan Finette says, Jobe Bellingham is a player we need to get in there early. Stephanie Griffith says, Jobe Bellingham is the third brother. Laughing emoji. Adam Wright says, Dibbling got 2 goals and no assists in 25 games, 100 million though. Dan United says, I think Bellingham could do a good Jobe for United. Get out. There's another story, right? I saw this in I think this is the MEN again, actually, about Alphonso Davies, right? I just saw it and I thought, what even is this story, right? So it says Manchester United dodge free transfer bullet, a huge blow confirmed by a club. I mean, that's a weird way to report that someone's done the cruise shirt. Because he got injured, didn't he, Alphonso Davies? I think it's his cruise shirt he's done. It's a serious injury. And then they're having a go at sort of making it almost like it's a positive and tying it to Manchester United. Dodge free transfer bullet. I just think that's a really weird way of wording that story. I get you trying to get a United angle in there, but I just found it a bit crass, to be honest with you. Dodged the bullet. Great. Hey, tell you what, we've dodged the bullet because the guy's got a serious injury. Woohoo! And also, the Alphonso Davies links to me. I know we reported it, as we always do. If we see stories in the papers, we'll talk about, and we talked about this on Paddock Live a few months ago when we were first linked with him. It feels like a transfer that wasn't going to happen because of the wages. There was talk that he was going to be on massive money, that he wants massive money. We've just literally had a story where we spoke about Sir Jim Ratcliffe, how United are going to do things differently in terms of wages. Are we going to give Alphonso Davies like 340, 50k a week or whatever it was? I think the figure being touted. I don't think we will. Genuinely, I just don't see that transfer happening. And I think that the way that was worded was a bit dumb. Phil Berry says the MEN has turned into a clickbait SHITE paper. Yeah, what is it Steve calls him? A formerly reputable newspaper, now disreputable blog or something. I can't remember. I'm on with him later. I'll get him to repeat it because I always forget the way he words it, but he words it quite perfectly. Talking of rags that are, formerly great papers. Well, this isn't even a formerly great paper. This has always been a rag. The Sun, right? And I never, ever, ever have the Sun on the screen, yeah? Hashtag don't buy the Sun, right? But I just wanted to point out this, just to lay into it and how stupid this article is, right? That is it. Rasmus Hojlund and girlfriend Laura nipped to Asda for milk as Man United striker returns home after international break. There's even a fucking picture of him. Rasmus Hojlund headed to Asda for supplies. Like he's in a war. Well, shut up. Do you know what, right? I studied journalism at uni, right? I was a journalist for 10 years. If my editor said, listen, I've got a story for you, big one, I need you to work on. We've just had a phone call. Hojlund's been spotted at Asda getting some milk. Can you get down there and get the scoop? I'd fucking quit. Seriously. That is just pathetic. Pathetic story from a pathetic newspaper. Hashtag don't buy the Sun. We're going to be back later on today. We've got myself, Adam McCullough, Stephen Howson off the bar. Also, I think Finn's coming in later on today as well. We're going to be chatting to him about the academy. So if you're not doing so already, make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Also, we have got some other videos that are up. We did a little bit of a look at how many former Manchester United players have been disrespected. This is on the back, you know, there's been all these debates about all-time 11s and all-time Premier League greatest teams and all that sort of jazz. United players always get ignored, don't they? Or they don't get some of the credit they deserve, especially ones from the earlier era. So that's up on the channel, plus a load of other stuff as well, looking at stadium, looking at all sorts. So make sure, if you've not done so already, you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.